Hi, guys. In social studies, we're going to be learning about famous Americans that have changed the way we live in the United States of America. Today, we are going to be talking about Helen Keller. I'm going to be reading to you a book that you can find on Epic. It is called Helen Keller, Miracle Child by Audrey Peck. Now, Helen Keller was a strong and smart woman. She became a famous writer and speaker, even though she couldn't see or hear. Helen was born on June 27, 1880. She grew up in Alabama. She could see and hear until she was 19 months old. Let's think about that, boys and girls. When you are 19 months old, you are not yet 2 years old. Just think about it. At that point, you could see and hear, but then something happened that stopped that. In 1882, Helen got very sick. After her illness, she became blind and deaf. This made life very hard for Helen. Just imagine it, boys and girls. You're 2 years old, you cannot see, and you also cannot hear. Imagine how scary that must be. Go ahead and close your eyes and put your fingers in your ears. And imagine that that was your life all the time and how hard that would be. A helping hand. Helen needed a teacher to help her. In 1887, a teacher named Anne Sullivan came to live with Helen's family. Anne was 20 years old when she started to teach Helen. She was a great teacher. She was once blind, like Helen. An operation helped her see again. Helen didn't know any words. Anne taught her how to spell words with her hands. This is called sign language. Anne helped Helen learn what words meant. Helen touched things. Then Anne spelled their names on Helen's hand. This is how Helen learned the words for things. Helen learned a lot during her time with Anne. She learned 30 words in one day. Helen loved learning. Learning at school. Helen was a very smart girl. She went to school for the first time in the fall of 1889. Her school was in a big city called Boston. Helen couldn't see words, but she still learned to read. She read by feeling raised dots. The dots spelled words. This is called Braille. Take a look at the photograph on page 13. Do you guys see those dots on the sheet of paper, boys and girls? When you run your fingers over them, you learn that certain dots represent certain letters in the alphabet. For instance, a certain number of dots would represent the letter A. And this is how Helen learned how to read books. Helen used her hands to learn other things too. She learned to talk by feeling her teacher's mouth. She felt how to make sounds. And you guys can do that too, boys and girls. If you say certain words, you'll notice that the way your lips move and the way your tongue moves actually changes depending on what sound you are making. Helen did well in school. In 1900, she went to college. Helen became the first blind and deaf person to finish college. Writing and speaking. Helen liked to write. She wrote her first book in 1902. It's called The Story of My Life. People still read it today. Helen wrote 10 more books during her life. She wrote about being blind and deaf. She showed others what life is like for blind and deaf people. Helen traveled around the world after she finished college. She visited 39 countries. She spoke to people about her life. A teacher and friend. Helen always traveled with Anne. She was Helen's teacher and friend. They lived together until Anne died in 1936. Helping others. Helen lived until she was 87 years old. She died on June 1st, 1968. She helped many blind and deaf people during her life. We can all learn from Helen's life. She followed her dreams even though she was blind and deaf. What are your dreams, boys and girls? Here we can see a timetable of Helen Keller's life. So you can see here on the very top, you can see that she was born in 1880. And as you move down the timetable, you can see it progresses throughout her life until it shows that she died in 1968. And of course, here we have the glossary that goes over some of the vocabulary in this book. Now, on Epic, there are several books on Helen Keller that you can look and read. Please remember, boys and girls, that I did send your family the invitation to be able to access Epic from home. All right, boys and girls, until next time, see you at Zoom. Bye.